Hello, it's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Across the Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. I've got my bread here. Look, it's nice and spongy. Uh, it's crusty, but then also very soft on the inside. We can get this nice, softness. You can tell that it's done whenever you tap on it, and it's got a hollowness inside. Yeah, it's done. It's done. And so that's great. So this really has to cool. Um, and get ready for this evening. That's why I went ahead and made it early this morning. And then basically, it will be a nice, hearty table bread to serve with the meal. It's held its height because it was probably, yeah, this is at least double. It was about right here. And then I kind of removed it away from the edge of the pan a little bit before I baked it. And then I let it proof a little bit more in the refrigerator. It rose up and it was great. And it held its height and everything. Even after I took it, actually, I say proof, I let it rise basically. But to get the crust as firm as it did, I took, this is a step that wasn't in the recipe, but it's something that I do to get a good crust on the bread, something that's going to make it, you're really going to know you're eating a crust. Uh, so it's not your soft sandwich bread, but a really good firm table bread. But I took another loaf pan, filled it with water, put it in the oven about 220, let it come up to temperature, put this in, let it proof. I let that go for about another 20 minutes with that water and steam and everything like that, just kind of like sweating it, basically. And what that does is that gives kind of it ensures you get a good crust. So, and then, and that's why when I cut this seam down the top, it uh, pretty much held its height. It lost a little bit of height just in the center. Um, but that's okay because what happens is that it created a kind of a seam so that it would catch the butter that I put all over this when it was done. I put like unsalted butter on top of it. And of course, the top of the bread is baked in basically the herbs, rosemary in particular. There's some sage, there's oregano, just all sorts of things, garlic. It's a really good table bread. And I wanted something that's a kind of a step above, uh, some sunbeam. So let's go over here and let me show you the creme brulee. Okay, now I can stir this and then I can step away. And basically, as soon as I stir it and step away, uh, the sugars are going to come right back up to the foam. It's gonna do that. It's gonna do that. This is almost like a nougat at this point. If you're doing a candy bar, you'll take your egg yolks or your eggs or whatever and whisk in your sugar. It's almost a nougaty kind of thing. But we're going to turn it into a custard. Hang on, because I have warmed some heavy cream, and I need to come over here and give it a whisking and break up the film, the skin that gets on the top of it. And then we're going to come over here and slowly, gradually, I'm gonna stir it into the egg yolks. And at that point, once it's all incorporated, I'm going to take the mixture and transfer it to these souffle cups. These souffle cups. And I have more than doubled the recipe because these are deeper souffle cups. But I like these. And there's 10 of these. So I'm going to have be able to serve 10 people on a creme brulee. And what I'll do with this is once it's done, then I'll take it. Once I've created the mixture, folded the cream into the egg, and it's become a custard at that point. Then what happens is I take these and I put them in a water bath. I want to make some warm water and pour warm water into some pans that are going to come halfway up to the top, and then put this into the oven and bake them at around 300, 320 or whatever. I'll check the recipe before I do it. And for the duration of the time that it says to do it, which I'm thinking it's probably about half an hour. I'm thinking it's about a half an hour bake in a water bath in the oven at 300, 320, whatever. And then take out, cover with film and, the saran wrap or whatever, and refrigerate until it's ready for the crust, and that will be tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to do with the crust, is basically sprinkle down some sugar, hit it with a kitchen torch, and then it's ready to serve. It's a lot of steps, but it really is a simple recipe to pull off. It's just you need to be able to have time, to do it. But this is one of these things that you can do in portions, By the way, this is 18 egg yolks. So it's quadruple the recipe. But the recipe is said to make 6 creme brulees, but my souffle cups are deep, so I know that it can hold a little bit more. And as you can see, as I've whisked this and then stepped away, it's gotten foamy again on the top. So, that's just what it does. You literally could turn this into a nougat for candy bars, but we're not making candy, we're making custard. So, yeah, that's it for this part of the video, because this is going to just maybe, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. I'm going to show you the mixture. Hang on. I'll fold in and then I'll show you what it looks like. So, folding in this mixture really does have to be a gradual process. And the reason why we add just a little bit is to temper the egg. And you want to do it gently, adding in the cream. Just a little at a time, because this cream is warm and we do not want to curdle the eggs. That's why what we're doing is called tempering the eggs. And I'm just being very gentle as I fold this in. I'm not trying to scramble. Really, really careful. But the eggs are tempered now, so you can, at this point, add them a little bit more, and then if you start to get lumps, you shouldn't if you stir this very gently, but if you start to get lumps, when you pour it into the souffle cups, you can pour it through a sieve or a strainer or something like that, That's perfectly fine too, because we don't want lumps all throughout our creme brulee. Let me pause the video so I can complete this step, and then I'll come back and I'll give you some more words about what I'm thinking about this. And I've made these before. I love it. All right, so it's all here. It's all well incorporated, bringing from the bottom. Now, what we want to do in making this, we want to avoid these bubbles. If you get too many, if you get too much of a foam, you might want to remove the foam, or either let it sit for a second to calm down. But you really want this really well made. By the way, this is pretty close to an eggnog too. And so if you find membrane clinging to your fork, just kind of shake it off. And what I'm talking about, egg yolk, let me set this over there. Egg yolk, even when you separate it, has an encasing, it has a membrane around the egg yolk that keeps it a little separate from the egg whites. Even when you separate it and when you start to mix it, you're going to notice little bits of that membrane coming off and separating. You can spoon those out if they become too prevalent. And there's, like I said, I used 18 eggs, so, you know. But yeah, what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to get a ladle and I'm going to gradually ladle this into the souffle cups, avoiding as many of the foamy bubbles as I possibly can. A little bit, okay, but you really don't want too much, because you want a nice smooth texture throughout this custard, this pudding custard or whatever, and you just, you know, you just want as much evenly of an even consistency as possible. So that's what we're aiming for. Let me start to get these souffles situated. So just to catch you up on this process, 18 egg yolks, about 4.5, 5 cups of heavy cream warming on the stove, 1 cup of sugar, and vanilla to taste, with also that vanilla goes with the cream. And then in the egg yolk part is when I stir in the 1 cup of sugar, gradual, to the raw egg yolk, and then about half a teaspoon of salt, just to give it a balance. What's good for salt in a recipe like this is that salt will help carry the flavor throughout the recipe. You know, it gives it a balance. You don't want to taste salt. You don't want to be like, oh gee, I'm eating a salty caramel. You don't want to taste the salt, but you want the salt to be able to carry the recipe. And then I've got, and if you catch sight of my sink, I'm about to do a load of dishes, but I just put that boiler from here. Actually, it's in the sink and everything. So if you catch sight, please forgive that. But I'm going to do a gentle stir and a sieving of the bubbles. I'm going to kind of remove those bubbles from the top of this. That foam is excessive. I'm going to remove it, but we're going to have a really smooth consistency. And then I'm going to put them into these 10 very clean souffle cups. The souffle cups are going to go into a baking dish that's going to be filled halfway up to the cup, on the outside of the cups, with water. That's called a water bath. That's going to go into the water bath. It's redundant, right? Whatever. Into the oven, so that it can. What that does is it helps carry the heat evenly throughout the pan, so that your custards set evenly. Okay, so hang tight. Let me do that, and I'll show you what the cups look like when they're filled. And I have this ladle, this really good ladle that's good. It's got a sieve on the end of the ladle, so I could just kind of pour it into the souffle cup from there. And this was a guest that came over a few years ago and brought some things, and this is one of his ladles, and then he left, and then I just haven't seen him or heard from him. And by now it's been a couple of years, so I've claimed ownership of this ladle. So, you know, it's mine now. But I'm just going to scoop it. And yeah, but even just letting this kind of sit, I'm kind of breaking away, kind of smoothing out those bubbles, you know, because we really don't want too many bubbles. But this is a heavy whipping cream. Some souffles or some recipes for this will ask you to use milk. I like heavy whipping cream. Okay, so this is what we're going for. Not too many bubbles. If you see 1 or 2 bubbles that get in your way, just kind of poke at it. And you know, you might find it easier to pour the souffle and then um, remove any foam with a spoon. Okay, so here I've already poured out 3 of the souffle cups, and they're fine. You know, if you see, like I said here, a bubble, just tap it with the tine of a fork. It'll pop, whatever. Okay, so that's it. And that's it for this video. Love and light, everybody, and you'll see the finished product later. But there are souffles, you know, for creme brulee, recipes for creme brulee, like all over YouTube. So uh, don't hang on waiting for mine. Go check those out. I love you guys, and God bless. And I hope your team won for Super Bowl. If not, better luck next time. And yeah, love and light. Ciao, Bella. Bon appetit.